All right, good afternoon. Today's training is on April 30th, 2019. What we'll be going through is getting started as a new user. So what we'll go through first is a PowerPoint deck of workflows and just how information flows through the application. We'll also go over how to navigate through the application, just some tips and tricks for people who are just getting started with Kinetic. We'll also take a look at the My Account section where you can update your password and other information for yourself. And then also want to touch on a couple of good go-to places for the how to use of Kinetic. So we'll go through the documentation as well as where to find the training videos that we've previously done. So that said, hop over here to the PowerPoint deck. And we've got our workflows and reference materials. So starting from the basics, on every page, we have this set of 4 buttons in the top right-hand corner of any page. So the first is the question mark icon. This contains all the documentation of the application. This is a good first stop if you don't know how to use a module or have a question on something on just how to use it. The next is the building or waffle icon. One of our partners pointed out that this icon looks suspiciously like waffle and the name kind of stuck. But under here, it is the My Company information. This is going to have all of your master templates that will flow through the rest of your projects and opportunities. It'll also have your list of active users, and you can modify whether people are automatically included or not included on your new project teams. The icon after that is the avatar icon. This is where you can access the My Account portion. This is where all of your personal information and preferences are stored and modified. So your email subscriptions, as well as your password. And if you have a name change, you can do that there as well. And then finally, it's the log off button. And if you wouldn't mind just putting your phone on mute while we go through this and just coming off mute if you do have questions, I definitely appreciate it. Thanks. The next here is the left-hand menu. This is going to have all of your overview tabs. So we have the CRM, contacts, opportunities, etc. So these tabs are going to show you all projects and all opportunities, all of the information that would fall under them. So for just deficiencies as an example, this is going to show you all of your deficiencies across all projects. And then tasks is going to show you all tasks across all opportunities and projects. The last one that I want to touch on specifically from this left-hand menu is the forum. So the forum is kind of a special tab. This is really the only place within Kinetic that will show you, or that is available to all partners and all Dirt users within who are using Kinetic. So when you post out to this forum, if you want to just post a question to the general community, you can do that there. And anyone who is using Kinetic within that Dirt community can respond to you. And then just as a general rule of thumb, if you can't find it on this left-hand menu, it most likely means it's within a specific opportunity or within a specific project. So just as an example of one that's not on here is quotes. So all of your quotes are stored within the individual opportunities or within your individual projects. So next we have just how information flows through. So the first thing you identify is your lead. So this can be your business who you're looking to do work with, and then you can create multiple opportunities underneath that business. You mark your opportunity as one, and then you create your project. So everything starts out as a business or an opportunity, and then flows through to a project. And then just a little bit of terminology within Kinetic. Under the CRM tab, we have a tab for clients and a different tab for leads. So your clients tab is going to contain all of your businesses that have one work associated with it. So one or more projects associated with it. And your leads are only going to have opportunities associated to it. So underneath any business, you can have multiple opportunities, you can have multiple projects, and all of that is going to sit underneath that business, and you can always view the business to see what specific opportunities and projects that you have entered under them. Next, a little bit more about how information flows through the application. You can create a quote within Kinetic, and then you can itemize it with those DERP products. And then the most important step here is to designate that quote as your forecasted quote when it is the opportunity stage. Designated as the forecast is what tells the application to use this particular quote and have that information flow through to the rest of the application. So if you have multiple quotes under your opportunity and you really just have one that is your final quote, the application needs to know which one that is, and that's what that designate as forecast function will do. So it'll push it through to the opportunity overview tab as well as the forecast tab. So next, a little bit more on quotes, and this is more for the project side of it, but you create your quote and you can also build an installation estimate for it. So this is your hours for the various different activities, whether it's receiving, demolition, and all of the subcategories for installation, cleanup, etc. Then you designate that quote as final. And you can also have people submit status reports, and this can be people in-house, or you can also grant vendors access to Kinetic in order to submit those status reports if you are subcontracting out your installation. So those status reports can include hours, and it's also going to have the same set of activities from your installation estimate. And with those two data points, Kinetic will automatically put together some reporting that you can view on the status reports tab within a project or under the installation tab on the left. And that reporting will automatically pull together so you can track your various different installation activities as they move towards completion. So next, we've got purchase orders. You know, some partners elect to create their purchase orders out of their accounting system, and some will use Kinetic for it. If you're going to use Kinetic for your purchase orders, one handy function that is built into here is that you can push a quote directly over to a purchase order. So when you're building your quote, you're collecting really all the information you need to create a purchase order. So you're collecting the subcontractor who might be doing it or the vendor who might be doing it. You're collecting the cost as well. So you can always, once you designate a quote as final within your project, you have the option to push your quote over to a purchase order, make whatever tweaks or adjustments you need to make on that purchase order, and then just print it out. Of course, purchase orders can also be created on a one-off basis if you don't have a quote in Kinetic or you don't want to use your quote for whatever reason. And then the same functionality of pushing a quote to purchase order is available from a deficiency. So you can push a deficiency order line over to a purchase order as well. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about RFIs and PCIs. So RFIs, requests for information over to the architect and potential cost impacts. So a request for information to your architect may potentially include a cost impact. So if you're asking whether a door is locking or non-locking because it wasn't specified in the plans, it may have cost impact if the door turns out to be locking and there's going to be a cost for that piece of hardware that you're going to have to add, or maybe there's more labor time, or whatever the case may be. It's possible that there may be a labor or time or material impact that you want to capture. So one piece of functionality that is built into Kinetic is the ability to convert an RFI into a potential cost impact. So your potential cost impact is a place where you can figure out what is the next step here. Who's going to be covering this cost? So your potential cost impact can be converted into three different things. If the client is going to be covering that cost ultimately, it can be converted into a change order, and it can be issued to your client for so that you can ultimately invoice them. A potential cost impact can also be converted into a deficiency. So let me take a moment and back up here. So a PCI can be started out as from a request for information, or it can also be created on a one-off basis. So if you're on the job site or someone's on the job site and notices some scratched tiles that will need to be replaced, they can start it out as a potential cost impact. And then once you figure out how you're going to handle that situation, you can convert that potential cost impact into whatever you need from there. So you can create a deficiency from it, or if the subcontractor is ultimately going to be liable or the partner is going to be liable, you can create a billable here. And I think the best way to think about a billable is it is a margin hit, either to the subcontractor or to you as the partner. So just to talk a little bit more about PCIs, one of the things that a PCI is meant to help with is really to track all of these things that may come up during the course of a job that you want to make sure don't fall through the cracks. We know that if you're not using Kinetic and you're just using email to track all these things, it can get a little hairy trying to keep track of everything. But using Kinetic to do it, it becomes your single point of information, a single source of information. So you go into that project, you check out your potential cost impacts that are listed there. It's one central point, and you can see which ones are open, which ones have been converted into the various different things, and make sure that everything gets accounted for. So the next thing we want to talk about here is the project team. So if you are a brand new user to Kinetic, you'll have to make sure that you are added to the various different project teams. And the same thing goes if you have a brand new person on the dirt side. You'll want to make sure that they are included on your project team. The reason for that is because the project team is going to be the list of people who you can assign various different things within that particular project in Kinetic. So if you're building a task or you're creating a deficiency, or if you're really creating anything within a project, when you go to assign someone to that item, it's going to be a list limited to that project team. So who can be on a project team? It can be a vendor, it can be a vendor employee, it can be a partner employee, of course, and it can also be a person on the dirt side. So within, how do you edit your project team? There are two ways to do it. In almost everywhere where the project team is relevant, you'll find this Manage Project Team button, and you can click that, make updates to your project team, save it, and then you're good to go. And you can also go to the Team tab found within Projects and add or remove team members there. The last note on project teams is that vendor access to Kinetic is going to be done by project. So you can limit access to who can view what projects via that project team. So vendors will only be able to view projects that they are added to. And then next here, for the contacts, we do have two separately managed lists. We have vendor employees, and these are the people you can grant access to Kinetic with. So under your vendor tab, you go into individual vendor, and then you can add vendor employees there. And then your client contacts, these are for your sales activities or your quotes. You go to the CRM tab, go under a client or lead there, and you can add client employees. And then the other way to manage those is under the contacts tab. This will give you a list of all of your client or lead contacts across all businesses. And you can also create them directly from there and then just assign the business that they work for. So that's it for the workflows. I'll go ahead and pause here for a moment to see if we have any questions. And if not, we will hop into the application and take a look at a few more things. So when you are a brand new user, the first thing that'll pop up is a security question. It'll ask you to pick a security question from this dropdown and set an answer for it. And then if you ever need to change your password, you can do that right here with the change password button. That security question is what allows you to have a system generated password reset, and I'll just show you where to find that real quick. So when we log out here, we've got this forgot password function here below the login screen, and you just type in your username, click submit, and it will give you a link that will prompt you to enter the answer to your security question, and you can reset your password from there. If you ever forget your username, you can email support@kineticcloud.com, and we can either provide your username to you, or we can do a manual reset of your password if necessary. Okay, so a little bit more about how to navigate the application. I'll go ahead and log in as a partner user here into the training environment. And as I've mentioned, this left-hand tab here has all of your overview tabs. And if you can't find something, the rule of thumb from there is it's either within a project or within an individual opportunity. So I'm going to go ahead and hop into a project here. All of the functions available at the opportunity stage are also available at the project stage. That said, there is more functionality available at the project stage because of all the project management tools. So this project management tab is the only one of these this top row of tabs that has sub-tabs underneath it. So the project management tab has your schedule, pay applications, delivery tickets, project files, status reports, etc. So the second rule of thumb I like to make sure that new users have a good feel for is if you can't find it here on this top row and you know it's within a project, check the project management tab because this is the only one with additional sub-tabs underneath it. The next thing that I wanted to touch on is the documentation portion of the application. So I had mentioned at the top of the PowerPoint deck that we had this set of 4 buttons, and under the question mark icon is all the documentation of the application. So when you come in here, a handy trick is to use this search field on the right-hand side to type in what you're looking for. There are a lot of sections to our documentation because there's a lot of functionality available to you within Kinetic. So you can narrow it down to just the relevant sections for you by typing in here. So I'm going to look for information about a quote by just typing in that. And I'm going to go to section 8, the spotlight on quotes. So within here, one thing that's been added relatively recently is links to videos from our previous refresher trainings about these topics. So I'm going to hold the control key and click on the link here. And this will pop us up to this YouTube channel. It'll hop directly to the relevant portion of this training. While I'm here, I did want to touch on one more item, and that is that every one of our trainings has this section at the bottom with timestamps and the topics that are being covered. So you can always click any of these timestamps and it'll jump directly to that section. And then this over here is the full list of all of the trainings that we've posted, done over the last, about a year and a half, that we've started recording our monthly trainings and started posting them. We also do have a Word document that has been linked in the training invites. So you can click that. That'll have all the different topics for it, and it'll also include links back to each one of these trainings. Okay. Wanted to dive into just a little bit more detail of the My Account section, and then I think after that we can open up to general questions. So a couple of things I wanted to touch on additionally about this My Account section here, where this is where, of course, you manage all of your personal information. So you've got your name. Your username here isn't editable, but you can change your email, your mobile. These are all of your email subscriptions. So do you want those daily task reminders? Do you want forum questions? Do you want that conversation update at the end of the day? the number of days past due for a task reminder, the project charts, and this one I want to hit on for just spend a little bit more time on, and that's the default homepage. For everyone, when you're a brand new user, it's going to be the project overview. So this is going to show you a list of projects that you can jump into and get to all of those project management functions. However, there are a bunch more options here as well. So you can also have the opportunity overview set as your default homepage. If you're working more on the sales side, like pre-project, that'll help you get into things a little bit more quickly. Forecast overview, task overview, project summary, opportunity summary, and we can take a look at these two tabs if anyone would like to, just to show a little bit more about what they do. But this allows you to view a little bit more information about a project and switch between them very quickly. And same thing with opportunity summary, and you can also make edits to your opportunity timing or other stuff easily as well. But my personal favorite here is this last option, and that is your last opportunity or project. So if you've got this one selected, the last project or opportunity that you're working on, when you log back in, you'll automatically go to the home page for that op or project. And if you have multiple locations, you can also set a default location. So when you create new opportunities, those opportunities you create will automatically be aligned to the location that you select here. Okay, so I think that brings us really to the end of the stuff that we had prepared for today.